First, what you need is an extra large t-shirt, maybe even a double X. The bigger, the better. Then you're going to need a ruler, scissors, and some chalk. First, you start off by marking the underbust. So you try it on and put a pin where the underbust is going to be. Then you do another marking about 3 to 4 inches from that layer. Now use your shirt as a guide. If your shirt has an image, then use it as a guide, as mine has just do it. So I was able to put the pin under the just and a little bit by the do so that you can see each layer. If you don't have a graphic, that doesn't matter. So after you put your pins there, you're going to use your ruler to draw a chalk line where you put the pins at. And you're going to make sure that the line is straight, and you don't have to do it all the way to the end, but make sure that you do a straight line using your chalk. I moved mine up just a little because, again, I wanted it to be under the just so you can have a clear view of the words. Once you do that, then you're going to go ahead and get a template, and I'm going to use the dress that fits me really well, and I'm just going to put that on top of the shirt just to use it as a guide for where I want my dress to lay. Now, I always say when using different fabrics to give yourself some extra seam allowance. Do not do it exactly the size because you're not going to be able to take it in anymore. So I just use it as a guide. I do about 2 inches on each side, just so I can have some room for sewing and adjustments if I need to. So after I move that dress, I'm going to cut out the piece, cut out the sides of the dress. I recommend you folding it in half just to make sure that both sides are symmetrical, because as you see, when I marked it, they weren't the same. But when you fold it in half, use that line as a guide and then just cut it on the other side. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to use scissors to cut the chalk lines. Now, you're not going to cut all the way to the end. As you can see, I start closer to the left, and I stop sewing further from the right, because that's the side you want to be closed up. In the end, when you see the dress, you'll see what I'm talking about. But you want to cut it closer to the left side. Then you want to cut the collar, and just do it as you see in the video. Cut a straight line down the middle and cut on the sides of the collar. We're going to be removing that entire collar. So you move that piece to the side, and you're going to get that extra fabric that you cut off on the sides of the dress, and you're going to use this to make your pockets for your strings. This is really simple. You use the chalk lines as a guide because you're going to have 3 different sections. You're going to have the end section, the middle section, and the top section. And you're going to cut 2-inch strips to match each section. As you can see, I did one for the bottom, one for the middle, and one for the top. And you're going to lay those directly on the side of the line that is closest to the end. So just follow what you see in the video. Don't use the side that's a couple of inches away from the end. Use the side that's closest to the end. And this is just me making sure that they actually fit exactly. You don't want any extra. You want to fit exactly each section. After you do that, you're going to pin the sides down for each section, and you're going to draw a line directly in the middle because that is where you're going to sew. You're going to sew down the sides of each panel and directly in the center. So you'll have 2 even sections for each panel. I do advise you to use a ruler and chalk just to make sure that your center line is center, because you don't want uneven sections, but you want to make sure that the string fits in. So just to be safe, use your ruler and a chalk just so you can have a guideline for when you start to sew. Now once you're done sewing, this is what it looks like on the back, and when you flip it over, this is what it will look like on the front. I also advise you to use the thread that matches your garment. Don't use black thread or anything like that because you don't want it to show through unless your outfit is black. So use it so it kind of looks invisible. Then you're going to pin up the sides of your dress and you're going to stitch those sides together. Do not stitch your armholes. I'm going to put my dress back on here just to make sure my armholes are actually big enough for my arms, because I noticed when I put it on the first time I made my armholes really small. So I'm going to realign my template and make sure that it matches up perfectly. Then you're going to cut off the rest of your collar. After you sew up your sides, you're going to use the additional fabric that you have left over to create your strings. And these strings don't have to be perfect because you're going to be stretching them out. Just do about 6 different strips because you're going to need 2 for each panel. Do make sure that your strings are long enough. You don't want short strings, you actually want long hanging strings. So make sure they're a good length. You can measure that using your garment. Once you're done making your strings, you're going to get a safety pin and add it to the end of the string, and you're just going to feed it through each section. Make sure that when you get to the top that you hold it there and pin it because you don't want it to go all the way through. You're going to be doing a straight stitch at the top to keep those strings inside each panel. And you're going to just repeat this step for all 6 panels. Well, all 3 panels, but all 6 poles. Now once you've stitched those in, you're going to turn your dress inside out and you're going to pull those strings just to make sure that they are in there sturdy, because that is going to create the ruching effect on each section. Super, super cute. Once you have the ruching effect that you need, I'm here making my straps a little bit longer because I realized once I tried it on, it was a little too high and I kind of wanted it to be low cut. So I just cut off the tops and I added a little bit more fabric to the tops, and this also gives it a little bit more versatility and more stretch so that once I sew it on there, it's not as tight. It's actually looser at the top. Lastly, after you add your straps, what you're going to do is something that may sound complicated, but it isn't. You're going to take a little piece of the side of fabric and just fold it together and create a straight stitch. because this is just going to reinforce that cut line so that when you put it on, it doesn't stretch. You want it to stay closed on that side. So just creating a very small stitch and overlapping where you cut it just reinforces that for you when you put it on, and it doesn't stretch out. And there you have the cutest party dress made from a t-shirt. Now, I hope you guys love this video. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later.